Almost every model starts with technical drawing. It is helpful because I need to check the size of details that I make. The easiest way to get a technical drawing is to find something on the internet and scale it up or down to a desired size. But making your own custom drawing may be a better option for a couple of reasons. One reason is when you make something too obscure or even fictional, so there are no drawings available to begin with. Another reason is that you can portray only the parts that you need, without visual clutter. All of that, of course, can be done digitally and then printed or even just displayed on the screen of a tablet. But this option is not available to me. This will be a template for the turret base. I am making a shallow cut with a knife in order to fold it to make it symmetrical. Then I am copying the shape of the turret based on my technical drawing. Using the knife for more precision, I am making the half shape in order to later unfold it. I am aligning this shape with the drawing to see how accurate is the result. And here I am taking measurements to create the upper level of the upper hull assembly. Once again, using a sharp knife, I am creating the opening for the turret. And the next step is to create the lower level of the upper hull assembly. First thing I need to draw is the center line. Then I mark the space between fenders. And now I only need to align the upper level with the lower level and mark its placement. The next step is to create laminated cardboard bars. These bars will later be carved into shapes to represent toolboxes and fuel tanks, which are placed on top of the fenders of Soviet main battle tanks. The T-80 tank has two air intakes behind its turret. Using the knife I create two openings to imitate them. The lower hull assembly, that consists of hull floor, sides and lower fenders, was initially supposed to be a single piece, but later this idea was scrapped. The next step is to imitate the lids of the toolboxes. I am carefully copying the placement of the grooves from my drawing. The grooves were imitated by application of force using some dentist tool that I found on a flea market. If you don't have a dentist tool, you can use any needle instead. Lead blanks are then separated with scissors. On real vehicles, these leads have transverse metal bars that are used for fastening. To imitate them, I need to prepare thin strips of paper. To apply them, you'll need a really tiny amount of glue and sharp tweezers. The entire assembly of boxes and fuel tanks is also kept in place with the metal brackets. To imitate this, I make some larger paper strips and then apply them in the same manner. And here you can see upper hull assembly, dry fit for now. The external fuel tanks also have some grooves and indents on them. To imitate this, first I need to mark their position with a pencil. And then I use the same dentist tool. And also a sculpting tool with a round tip. If you don't have a sculpting tool, you can substitute it with a ball pen, preferably the one that is out of ink. As I said before, the idea to make lower hull assembly as a single piece was scrapped. So here I have hull floor, sides and some reinforcing ribs. Lower front plate and back plate will be attached later. The turret is another layered construction. It's easy to assemble it by placing layers one by one and trimming everything that sticks out. On a real vehicle, the turret shape is rounded. In order to achieve that, some material will have to be shaved off by a sharp blade. That was something that I forgot to get on camera. Sorry for that. Note that some layers have an opening to mount the gun barrel later. The next step is the turret roof. The turret roof rests on top of the centerpiece that is already carved into shape. The roof itself roughly follows the turret outline, marking the placement of the two hatches. It is important because the roof bends around these areas. In preparation for bending, some material needs to be removed. I use generous amount of glue on the top and the perimeter. The roof is placed and aligned. Then the edges of the roof are bent downwards, partially with fingers, partially with tools. Some excess material is shaved off with a knife. Later, some additional ways to smooth out this seam can be applied. To roll barrels, I use the paper of the lowest density available. One needs to take into account the alignment of grains in the paper. There is always one direction in which paper naturally rolls and bends the easiest. The first step is to gently bend the strip of paper in the middle. And then I use a long needle to roll it into a cylindrical shape. And a smaller needle to decrease the diameter of the cylinder. I keep rolling it until it holds the shape firmly. The original cylinder was cut in half because to achieve the desired diameter I only need stripe that is half centimeter wide. When it holds its shape firmly, I roll it between two hard surfaces in order to decrease the diameter even further. And finally I align the turret and the barrel with my drawing, in order to mark the barrel length and also future positioning of the bore evacuator. And after that I mark the positioning of the signature Soviet 2A46 thermal sleeve.